Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Hare Kṛṣṇa, dear devotees, please join us today in the study of Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we will be studying Canto 12, Chapter 10. Lord Śiva and Umā glorify Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi. Hare Kṛṣṇa, please join us for Jai Radha Madhav prayers. Acharan prayers together. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiryet Shratam Swakatha Kṛṣṇa Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Bhadrani Vidunote Suhatsatam Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhakti Naishiki. Hare Kṛṣṇa, dear devotees, please join us in the recitation of the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 12, Chapter 10. Lord Śiva and Umā glorify Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi. Sutta Uvacha.
Sutta Uvacha.
Sa evam anubhuyedam.
Sa evam anubhuyedam.
Narayana vinirmitam.
Narayana vinirmitam.
Vaibhavam yoga mayayas.
Vaibhavam yoga mayayas.
Tam eva sharanam yayo.
Tam eva sharanam yayo.
Sutta Uvacha.
Sutta Uvacha.
Sutta Goswami said,
Sutta Goswami said,
Saha,
Sa,
he,
Mārkaṇḍeya,
evam, in this way, anubhuya, experiencing, idam, this, Narayana vinirmitam, manufactured by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Narayan,
Vaibhavam,
the opulent exhibition. Yoga
Mayaya,
of his internal mystic energy. Tam, to him. Eva, indeed. Sharanam, for shelter. Yayo, he went. By the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Sutta Goswami said, the Supreme Lord Narayan had arranged this opulent display of his bewildering potency. Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi, having experienced it, took shelter of the Lord. There is no purport. Next verse, text 2. Shri Mārkaṇḍeya said, O Lord Hare, I take shelter of the soles of your lotus feet, which bestow fearlessness upon all who surrender to them. Even the great demigods are bewildered by your illusory energy, which appears to them in the guise of knowledge. Purport. Conditioned souls are attracted to material sense gratification, and thus they meticulously study the workings of nature. Although they appear to be advancing in scientific knowledge, they become increasingly entangled in their false identification with the material body and therefore increasingly merge into ignorance. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Please join us for Guru Pranati. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paśyatya Deshitarine Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tadaham Vande Shri Gurum Deenataranam Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. Hare Kṛṣṇa, dear devotees. Welcome to this class where we will be studying Srimad Bhagavatam. The chapter is Canto 12, Chapter 10. And as we heard, Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi just witnessed the amazing, unique display of Lord's illusory potency, Maya, the external energy of Lord Shri Krishna. And like always, we would like to first start with the blessing, because the blessing is amazing in this chapter. The blessing is, this is where Sutta Goswami is revealing to Shaunaka Rishi and the sages who are gathered at Naimisharanya this blessing. He is saying, O best of the Bhrigus. So he is referring to Shaunaka Rishi. This account concerning Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi conveys the transcendental potency of the Supreme Lord. So this particular account, last two chapters, previous two chapters, 8, 9 and 10, these three chapters together, anyone who properly narrates or hears it, so if you have been hearing the previous two classes, this combines the whole set of trilogy. Hears it will never again undergo material existence, which is based on the desire to perform fruitive activities. So you will not have any desire to perform fruitive activities, rather all your desires would be to serve Lord Shri Krishna. All your activities will automatically be dovetailed. Why would this happen? Because you have heard. If you have heard these chapters, or if you narrate these chapters, if you read 12th Canto, chapter 8, 9 and 10, all material pangs, all material miseries, you get detangled from them. Guna, right? The modes of material nature, Sattva Guna, mode of goodness, Rajaguna, mode of passion, Tamoguna, mode of ignorance. These three gunas are, modes of material nature. And guna also means ropes. So we are like puppets being tied with these ropes, and we have to act according to their desire. However, we still have a choice. We living entities, if we don't associate with this body, we don't think that I am this body, we do not, stay with this bodily concept of life, then we have a chance. And to be able to free ourselves from this bodily concept of life, we should engage in devotional service, and especially these three chapters have been recommended. So today is the last chapter, but I'll also give you a summary of previous two chapters, so that way you would have heard the whole narration of the three chapters today. Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi was a descendant, Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi is a descendant of Bhrigu Muni. So Bhrigu Muni is one of the 7 sages, Saptarishis, as we know them. And he is the main one, right? He is the chief of those Saptarishis. So in his lineage appears Shaunaka Rishi, who is present at Naimisharanya. And there he is inquiring from Sutta Goswami in the assembly of the sages. Shaunaka Rishi is posing various questions and various inquiries to Sutta Goswami. Srimad Bhagavatam finished in chapter 5. In chapter 6, Parishad Maharaj passes away. Chapter 7, the Puranic description comes in. And then 8 and 9 these chapters have been dedicated to Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi's pastimes. Like again, how he has such a long life that he happened to have lived, over one day of Lord Brahma. So it is the second day that he is living right now. So Shaunaka Ṛṣi in 12.8, 12th Canto, 8th chapter, verse 2 through 5. So 4 verses he is asking, it is so amazing that Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi has such a long life. And how is he, he happened to have seen even the Supreme Personality of Godhead lying on a, leaf of a banyan tree. So banyan leaf, in the folds of this banyan leaf, he had seen Lord. He witnessed, and at the time of annihilation. Now the second last verse of this chapter reveals that annihilation was a special arrangement, a unique situation created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. Right? So he can do whatever he desires. So he decided to create this special display of his internal potency for Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi. And this has been also revealed by the Acharyas, should not be considered as one of the cosmic annihilations. So there are 4 kinds of cosmic annihilations we have talked about in the past. One is Nityada, which is constantly going on. This is transmigration from one material body to another material body. So we living entities in this material universe are just, giving up one material body, and based on our propensity, if it is materially oriented, we get another material body. And the mind is the carrier to that material body. Then the second kind of cosmic annihilation is Naimittika, or occasional. Now this annihilation happens when Lord Brahma goes to sleep. So his 12 hours are equal to 4,320,000,000 earthly years. So again, Satyaloka, the time, that is, those 12 hours equate to 4,320,000,000 earthly years. And we know this from King Revat's story, who took his daughter Revati and to invite Lord Brahma. And when they were waiting for Lord Brahma only for few minutes in Satyalok, Lord Brahma said, actually all your descendants have passed away. Even the groom and his family and many of their descendants have passed away while you were waiting for me. So now you should take your daughter and marry her off to Lord Balaram. He is still there. So by the time you reach there, he would be there, and that's how Revati, was married to Lord Balaram. So this particular aspect, that time is relative, and on different planets it appears differently, is visible. So that relativity aspect is there. Now here, it's very interestingly described that how can one attain transcendental, blessing of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And blessings and mercy of the Lord flows through his devotees. So that's what we'll be hearing. So Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi, his story is being asked. So Sutta Goswami starts narrating the history, of the lifetime of Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi. And I'm quickly going to cover the previous 2 chapters, and then we'll come to this particular chapter. Just 2 minutes. So Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi was a very austere brahmachari, Naishtika brahmachari. So he decided to stay brahmachari for all his life, never get married. And he was practicing fixed meditation upon the Supreme Soul, as well as he was focusing upon the Lord with undeviating devotional service. And he was performing great austerities. And he was constantly studying the Vedas, and he was strictly adhering to the regulative principles. So these 5 characteristics have been identified. And he was carrying out the regulative principles so nicely. He would go out after performing his daily morning rituals. He would go out to beg for alms, and whatever he would get, he would give it to his spiritual master. And if his spiritual master asked him to take meal, he would take it. Otherwise, if his spiritual master doesn't ask him, then he would fast for the day without having any complaint. Now, and he would eat only once a day. So this is also another characteristics. If you have read Ayurveda, you would realize that actually yogis, if they have to eat, they only eat once a day. Bhogis 2 times, 3 times maybe. And then Rogis, they eat multiple times. they eat throughout the day. So these are some of the important aspects that we should be paying attention to. That sometimes we should eat. And Srila Prabhupada used to tell us, means he used to always guide his disciples and devotees, that we should fill our stomach half with food stuff, 1/4 with water, and leave 1/4 for air, so that everything can get digested very nicely. So we should always pay attention not to eat full stomach, but rather to pay attention to these factors. And honoring prasadam is also called prasadam seva. It is also a devotional service and should be done in quiet environment, right? So when you are eating and somebody comes and disturbs you, you basically say, why are you disturbing? I'm eating. Why don't you come back after 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Just give me some time. Let me finish my meal. Similarly, when this is seva, there is another seva we have, which is chanting of the holy name, when you are doing japa. So if somebody comes and, says, oh Prabhu, leave the japa and do, we have to be very, polite, yet at the same time firm in telling that my dear brother or my dear sister or my dear Mataji, please let me finish my chanting. It is more important than prasadam seva. It is the most important service I have to perform. So please let me finish it. And sometimes, yes, we see that, people, they ignore. They think that if you are doing japa, that means you have all the time in the world. Right? Haven't you ever observed that if you are engaged in japa, people come and disturb you like you have all the time in the world. You have nothing else to do. And that is a big misconception out there. Rather, it is the most important activity and must be done. Srila Prabhupada said that if we do not chant minimum 16 rounds on a regular day, then we will not have his protection. And this 16 rounds is a concession he has given. So the principle is chanting, yet at the same time, detail is where he changed the detail. Yet at the same time, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say that if you are not chanting 64 rounds a day, then you are patita, then you are fallen. There is no hope for you. Yet at the same time, Srila Prabhupada is more merciful. But we should not take advantage of that mercy. We should try to really carry out our services to the best of our abilities. Just like Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi, he would always perform his morning rituals, his sacrificial fire, he would light up and perform his homa. Then he would go out, perform all his duties, and he would be satisfied with whatever comes by its own accord, right? Because we have to understand that Lord has his plan, and his plan may be very different than my plan or your plan. Yet at the same time, we should always surrender to his plan. So Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi was just like that. He was always, peaceful, he was always equipoised, he was always looking at everyone with equal vision, understanding that it's will of the Lord, whatever is happening. Yet at the same time, he would not use it as an excuse not to perform his duties. So we have to perform our duties, but we are not entitled for the fruits of our labor. That is where Lord Kṛṣṇa reveals to Arjuna, Karmane vadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Right? So we are not entitled to the fruits of our labor, but we have to perform our prescribed duties. And these prescribed duties become devotional service when they are, this is Swadharma, when they are aligned with Sanatan Dharma, our constitutional position. Jivera Saruphoya Krishnera Nityadas. So Lord Kṛṣṇa reveals to Arjuna that whatever you do, whatever you gave away, yat karoshi yadashnasi yad juhoshi tadasyat yat tapasyasi kante tat kurushva madapram. So whatever you do, whatever you offer, whatever you give away, all activities that we perform should be offered as, in service of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, to please him, anukulena Kṛṣṇa anushilam, in a favorable manner as Lord Kṛṣṇa desires. Not that whatever nonsense we are doing and we say, okay, this is for Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. No. We should perform our prescribed duties and then we should look at it. This reminds me of a very nice story where this lady, she was instructed by her husband that she has to, constantly offer whatever she is doing to Lord Kṛṣṇa. So she would offer everything. So once she was cleaning the house and suddenly there is some dirt, right? And she throws it in the dustbin saying that as an offering to Lord Vishnu. Devashi Narad sees this, he goes and slaps her and tells her, what are you doing? This is not a proper offering to give to Lord Vishnu. And then he thinks that, okay, she has understood, she asks for forgiveness. And then he is on his way. When he reaches Vaikuntha, Lord Vishnu is holding his cheek. Devashi Narad said, oh my dear Lord, what happened? He says, somebody slapped me. It's like, who could slap you? He said, oh, it is you who slapped me. Then Devashi Narad realized that when he slapped that lady, She said, I've offered this to Lord Vishnu. So it actually got transferred instantly. At that time, Devashi Narad came to know that even a common person with pure heart, with proper offering, if he offers something, Lord accepts it. Because two important ingredients are necessary, love and devotion, that mood of surrender and renunciation. So that is essential for one to perfect one's life. So here Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi was just like that. And so, since he had lived through the life, the reign of 6 Manus, and the 7 Manus reign was going on, Vaivasvata Manu, he is currently ruling in this universe, he is the administrator. So Indra became insecure. When he becomes insecure by a Rishi who is performing great austerities, what does he do? He sends Gandharva, Cupid, to disturb, sway away the austerities of the sages. And one of the example is Vishwamitra. We all know that he said Menaka, and Vishwamitra, his austerities, his tapasya, his sacrifices, that was broken by Menaka. And eventually a daughter was born, Shakuntala. So, in this particular case, Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi had been performing austerities so well that the Apsaras, the dancing girls, all the musicians, the Gandharvas, no one, and including, Cupid, Kamdev, no one is able to disturb him. And they realize that, oh, this is a very powerful sage, and they become fearful. At that time, Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi said, don't worry, I'm not looking out, to get Indra's throne, so he can rest peacefully. So when they returned and told this narration, narrated this incident to Indradev, he was shocked. So the glories were spreading of Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi, and hearing these glories, Narayan Rishi, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they decided to visit. So from Badrika they traveled to Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi's ashram, and seeing them, Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi immediately paid obeisances, washed their feet, offered them arghya waters, and also nice foodstuffs, sandalwood pulp to soothe their bodies. So this is where he welcomes Narayan Ṛṣi. And at that time, Narayan Ṛṣi, they ask him, Narayan Ṛṣi asks him that, what would you like to have? Ask for a blessing. So he says, I have seen you, this is more than enough, right? Lord Brahma, he gets his position just by having a glimpse of your lotus feet, and I can see you whole, you have come to my abode, right? So he is being very humble and ecstatic symptoms are visible in his body. Yet at the same time, being again asked, he says that I would like to see your illusory potency. So on this, Narayan Ṛṣi, he smiles, thinking, and that is being reflected like a father who doesn't want his son to ask for some things which are not favorable. And asking for material energy to see the, it's not desirable, but that has been asked. So Lord arranges it. He says, okay, so be it. And then Narayan Ṛṣi, they return back to Badrika. So Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi was carrying out his daily activities as he was engaging in devotional service. But some new symptoms started appearing. In his meditation, he would become so absorbed, meditating on the Supreme Lord. With that love of Godhead was developing. It was already, he was feeling that love of Godhead in his heart. And like an ocean overflows, that love was overflowing. So he would sometimes forget about, or sometimes gets delayed in his devotional service. Not that it's negative, because the purpose of devotional service is to get love of Godhead. So he was still, experiencing transcendental bliss while engaging in devotional service to the best of his abilities. And once it just so happened that as he was, at the bank of a river, and he had just taken bath, suddenly he saw winds appearing and clouds are pouring, and the torrential rain was occurring, as heavy as like the wheel of a cart. And suddenly the oceans from all 4 directions started inundating
the islands, the mountains, the land, and not just the land but also the earth and the higher planet, heavenly planets were also being inundated in these waters of the universe. Now, sometimes people refer to this, and in this chapter, the second last verse, the Acharyas have explained the purport is covered, that is not nematic or occasional destruction of this material world that happens when Lord Brahma goes to sleep. It's not that. And unintelligent men, they sometimes try to relate it to that. It is a unique arrangement done by Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, right? So Nāraṇ Rishi are none other than expression of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. So they're not different. Different, yet at the same time same. So that's Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. Yet at the same time all Supreme Personality of Godheads, all Vishnu Tattvas are same. So their pastimes are different, but their very being is transcendental. So Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi is seeing that everything is getting annihilated, and that in these waters there are makaras and timingala fishes. Now timingala fishes are such giant fishes that can even swallow whales. So you can imagine, he is running away, he is trying to save his life, and in these waters for millions of years he is tormented, constantly being hit by the waves, and so tired and constantly feeling anxiety. Sometimes he feels relief, but there is constant anxiety, constant fear, constant tormenting because of the waves and because of these ferocious aquatics in the waters as they are fighting with each other. And he's running, he's swimming through these waters. Suddenly he sees an island. On the island, what does he see? He sees a banyan tree. On the banyan tree, on the northeastern side, he sees a small bluish baby on the fold of a banyan leaf. So he's surprised. He looks at this baby. As he's coming close to see the baby, the baby inhales, and Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi is pulled in to the breath of this baby and enters inside the baby. And then there inside you can see the land, you can see the oceans, you can see the rivers, you can see the moving, non-moving entities and so forth. So he's surprised, and now the baby exhales, and immediately Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi is thrown into this water of dissolution, again back to this state. And he realizes that this is none other than Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he swims to reach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but what happens? In the very next moment, the banyan tree disappears, the baby on the banyan leaf disappears, all the waters of dissolution disappears, and Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi sees himself standing in front of his hermitage. And he's shocked, and he is completely bewildered. He is not able to understand what is going on. And that is a unique arrangement done by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, Shri Nāraṇ Ṛṣi, to show the external potency, the material energy to Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi. Now, this chapter is exactly starting right after that. This is where Sutta Goswami is explaining that Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi, he immediately understood that this material world is not a safe place to be. Of course, if you are facing constant anxiety, constant pain, constant sickness for millions of years, you would also have the same impression that it's not a safe place. But at the same time, we realize that materialist means people who are looking to enjoy in this material world by engaging in fruitive activities. They don't realize that the happiness they experience is not true happiness. Their happiness has been described in the Shastras, in the scriptures as, a man whose head has been put in the waters as if drowning. And right before his life years are going to leave him, his soul is going to leave the body, at that time he is pulled up, and that this sigh of relief that the person gets. They are mistaking this sigh of relief to be happiness. It's not really happiness. It is just a momentary relief, and then again you have put back into the same whirlpool of miseries. And Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi realizes this. He first hand has this experience after millions of years of tormenting in the waters of dissolution. And so, he is meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is meditating on the lotus feet. He is saying, I take shelter of the soles of your lotus feet. And so this is where this chapter starts. Sutta Goswami is describing. And when he is meditating, he just had this amazing experience and he's tired, right? If you work hard all day, you feel tired, right? Think of Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi, who had been trying to survive for millions of years in the waters of dissolution. How tired he would have been. So he is meditating, closing his eyes, is meditating on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when it said that, it's directly referring to Nārayana Ṛṣi. At that time, it just so happens that Lord Shiva, along with his wife Parvati Devi, they are passing through along with their associates. And Mother Parvati, Mother Umā, she sees Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi in meditation. And she says, look, this Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi is in such wonderful meditation. He is meditating on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. My dear husband, my dear Lord Shiva, why don't you give him some boon? So Lord Shiva, he agrees. He says, yes, he is a great ascetic, he is a great devotee, he is a pure devotee of the Lordship, and we must have his company. So even the demigods like to have company of pure devotees. That has been exemplified in this example. So Lord Shiva, along with Mother Parvati and all the associates, they descend to where Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi is meditating. And at that time, when Lord Shiva is standing in front along with his wife, Mother Parvati, and all his associates, he sees that Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi is so absorbed in his meditation that he doesn't even have any external sense of his own being as well. He's completely absorbed in pure love of Godhead. So now how do we get attention of Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi? Lord Shiva, he in the sky of the heart of Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi appears. And suddenly Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi, when he is meditating in the lotus of his heart, what does he see? He sees a personality with 10 arms, holding trishul, bow, arrows, an axe, a sword, a skull, a damru, and even the chanting beads. And this personality has 3 eyes. Lord Shiva has third eye in the middle of his eyebrows, on his forehead. And seeing this amazing form, and his hair, the matted locks of his hair, they are shining like golden, which also shows that Lord Shiva has blonde hair, so again, and dark complexion. And at the same time, seeing this, Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi is wondering, who is this personality? Who is this? It was so momentary that he actually regains his external consciousness and he opens his eyes. And then who does he see? He sees Lord Shiva is standing there along with Mother Parvati. So he immediately recognizes now, of course, because of that momentary shock that he had seeing him, Lord Shiva in his heart and his 10-arm form. And so he immediately pays obeisances to Lord Shiva and Mother Parvati and the associates. He gives them nice seats to sit on, nice places to sit on. He washes their feet, gives water for washing the feet. He gives arghya water. So arghya water is water given as an invitation. When somebody comes at your home, you give them arghya water to kind of wash their face and so forth. And it is scented water as well. He offered them various kind of worshipable objects, various kind of nice offerings like flowers, lamps. He offered them fragrant oils. And arghya water also, you put some drops of fragrant oil so that when somebody sprinkles it, it has soothing effect. And so he inquires for their coming, and Lord Shiva says that Brahmanas like you are a pure devotee of the Lord, And so even demigods, they glorify, even I glorify, even Lord Brahma and even Lord Vishnu glorify such pure devotees like you. So this is a place where we are seeing that Lord Shiva, who is always glorified, he is the spiritual master of the three worlds. He has a whole parampara after him, right? Rudra Sampradaya, a disciplic succession, just coming from Lord Shiva. He is glorifying Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi here. And he is saying that, when somebody goes to a place of pilgrimage, there worshipping the deity and then taking bath in the holy river, wards off the sinful reactions after many, many days. But one can immediately get purified when he sees a pure devotee like you. Now Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi is liking this very much, but it is a different kind of liking. It is not that he is feeling very nice hearing his own glories. He is not looking for his name, fame and glories. He is getting a direct discourse by Mahadev. Lord Mahadev is revealing some amazing truths and he is relishing those truths. That Lord Mahadev, he is such an exalted personality, and how he is glorifying his mood and mood of Lord Vishnu and Lord Brahma. And Mahadev is saying that yes, we three, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, we are the best, personalities to give benediction. And just by having our darshan, just by getting boons from us, even a mortal man can attain immortality. So he is giving hints to Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi that when somebody has my company, when somebody sees me, then it will not be wasted, right? So there is definitely a boon coming his way. And he is identifying the various ways Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi is performing such great austerities. He is calling Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi as saintly. So he is saying, what are the characteristics of devotees who are worshipable? So this is something we can also learn. So there are 7 characteristics have been identified of devotees that make them worshipable. So just like there are 7 colors in a rainbow, Indradhanush. Similarly, there are 7 characteristics when one attains, one can become worshipable. So this is with respect to Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi. He is saying, first of all, you are saintly. Saintly means one who is, a saint is, an exalted personality who is constantly engaging in devotional service and is looking for the welfare of all living entities. Second is that you are always peaceful. So pure devotee of the Lord is always peaceful, shanta. They are not agitated, they are prasannatma. Brahma-Bhutah prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samah sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. Brahma-Bhutah prasannatma. So a devotee who is peaceful is actually prasanna, he is joyful. So you can only be joyful once you are peaceful. There cannot be any happiness if you are not peaceful. And how can a prasannatma, Brahma-Bhutah person does not lament about the past or aspire for the future. And that is the state of Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi. And in such a state, what are the activities of a Brahma-Bhutah person? A person on the Brahman stage, transcendental to the 3 modes of material nature. Such a person is constantly looking at everyone with equal vision. So that is also one of the characteristics. He is endowed with equal vision. And he is constantly engaged in devotional service. Bhaktim labhate param. Constantly engaged in the devotional service of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, to please Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. Now the third characteristic is free of all material attachment. So Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi does not want anything for himself. He is only engaged in loving devotional service. Fourth characteristic is he is compassionate to all living beings. He doesn't consider anyone as enemy or friend. He is compassionate towards all living entities. Similarly, we should understand that every living entity is eternal servant of God. So they may be in ignorance, maybe in passion, maybe in goodness, or maybe transcendental. Yet at the same time they are very dear to the Lord, and so much dear that Lord enters their heart and does not leave. So every living entity is special. So we should be very careful not to perform any janaprad, even an offense to general populace. Because let's take an example. Dhruv Maharaj, he wasn't a devotee when his stepmother pushed him off the lap from his, lap of his father, Uttanpal. So at that time, that was a janaprad. That was an offense to a general population. Especially this was, son of Sunati. So Suruchi pushed it, but that was an offense, and that offense caused her to die in a miserable state. So we should be very, very careful. And fourth characteristic is compassionate to all living entities. And fifth characteristic is purely devoted to us. When Lord Shiva is saying purely devoted to us, he is identifying that Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi is purely devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees. That is very important to understand. When he is saying that Lord Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh, means again all three are same, he is referring to their unison in carrying out the affairs of this material universe. Lord Brahma creates, Lord Vishnu maintains, Lord Shiva annihilates. And then he is saying that you are a pure devotee of the Lord, and so you are also devoted and very respectful for devotees of the Lord like us. Now this is where he makes the distinction that Lord Kṛṣṇa is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and I am just a devotee of the Lord. That's why you worship Lord Kṛṣṇa, and that's why you worship the devotees of the Lord. And since I am a devotee of the Lord, you are worshipping me. This is where he is clearly identifying that Lord Kṛṣṇa is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vaishnavanam yatha Shambhu. So of all the Vaishnavas, of all the devotees of Lord Vishnu, the topmost devotee is Lord Shiva, Mahadev. So he is identifying to Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi. And then he is glorifying again that you are devoid of hatred. That's the sixth characteristic. Mārkaṇḍeya, you are devoid of hatred. You don't hate anyone. You only love others. And how do we show love? By, there are loving exchanges. There are 6 kinds of loving exchanges being revealed in Nectar of Instruction, Updesha Mitra, by Srila Rupa Goswami. Dadati pratigrahanati guhyamakhyati prichati bhunjate bhojate chaiva sadvidam priti lakshanam. So what are the 6 symptoms of love? Dadati pratigrahanati, accepting gifts and giving gifts, not taking gifts. Taking is like, that's forceful. But accepting whatever comes by its own accord, we accept. Guhyamakhyati prichati, inquiring about confidential matters and sharing confidential subject matters with others, with the devotees. And bhunjate bhujate cheva, offering of foodstuffs, prasadam, and accepting prasadam. So these are 6 kind of loving exchanges. So this increases love and destroys any hatredness. So he is completely, Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi is devoid of hatred, and he is endowed with equal vision. Equal vision is a very important characteristic, where we should consider that all living entities in this material world and spiritual world are devotees of the Lord, and everyone is engaging in serving the Supreme Lord. So when Lord Shiva is glorifying Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi in such beautiful words, Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi is hearing them, and then Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi starts glorifying Lord Shiva. That how Lord Shiva is such a merciful personality, and then he says that when you are in the mode of goodness, it is pleasure giving, right? But when you are in the mode of passion, it is fearful. And then also you are sometimes in the mode of ignorance. Now when he is saying Lord Shiva is, topmost Vaishnava, And how could he be in the mode of passion, ignorance and goodness? This is with respect to the activities that are being performed, that they are being referred. In goodness, Lord Shiva is meditating on the lotus feet of Lord Kṛṣṇa. So he is, seeing him is very pleasurable. He is constantly chanting and glorifying the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In mode of passion, which is like activities, so that is like when he is actively engaged. And what is his activity that he engages in? In the annihilation of the whole universe when Lord Brahma goes to sleep. Now that is a very fearful state to be in. So all the demigods are fearful of him when they see him, opening his third eye and annihilating the whole universe. So that is fearful state. And then he is also in a mode of ignorance. Again, that is, Lord Shiva's desire. He decides to sleep so he can sleep. So here in this particular chapter, when Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi is glorifying Lord Shiva asks him, so please ask me for a boon. And Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi, he doesn't want anything. He says that I have seen you, that is more than enough. So that is also one of the characteristics. When Srila Prabhupada, he was in New York, a matchless gift store. Once a few Indians, they came, they opened the door and said, Swamiji, please give us blessings. Srila Prabhupada pointed to his American disciples, they had shaven-headed, wearing Gehua Vastra, brahmachari dresses, and then chanting on the beads. He said, these are my blessings. So those, the guests who had come, they just paid obeisance from a distance. This is okay, We don't want this kind of blessing. Not realizing that that is the true blessing. So here, Lord Shiva is revealing that seeing a devotee and having conversation, hearing about the glories, name, form, activities, pastimes of the Supreme Lord, that is a true blessing in our life. We should constantly be looking for such blessings. And it is by good fortune that we get such blessings. It is not easily available. So we must have performed great austerities, great sacrifices, and great charity, great amount of charity to be able to come to this state. And we are going to continue to perform. That is the mood. So Lord Shiva, at that time, even though Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi is not asking, he gives him this blessing. First is, he says, renown, freedom from old age and death until the time of universal dissolution. So that is till the time that Lord Brahma's life ends. So when Lord Brahma's life ends, at that time, Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi would be able to see the death of his body. Yet at the same time, one important aspect is that he would be living through so many kalpas. Kalpas is every day of Brahma. So he will be seeing so many dissolution. Now that is very fearful. So how do you save yourself? Because he already had the experience of being in the waters of dissolution for billions of years. He doesn't want to face that. So now how do you comfort him? So Lord Shiva gives him the second boon to comfort him. He says, you will have the knowledge of the three phases of time. Trikalagya. You will know the past, present and future. Now if you know the past, present and future, then you can arrange yourself, your activities around them. And then the third is that you will be always renounced. So you will not be attached to anything material. You will be in a renounced order. So you will be in renunciation, engaging everything that you have in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now that is a great blessing, to not get any material attachment. And whoever hears this chapter and the previous two chapters that we are covering today will get this mood of renunciation from this material world and would not be engaged in material fruitive activities unless one makes extra endeavor to do so. One would understand that the purpose of this life is devotional service of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, to engage in devotional service. Third is that he would get realized knowledge. So devotional service is Rajavidya Rajguhyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyakshvavagmam Dharmam Susukham Kartum Avyayam. It is the Rajvidya, it is the king of knowledge. Rajguhyam, it is the greatest secret. Secret of all secrets. Pavitram, it is purified and it is uttamam, it is the best knowledge. Pratyakshvavagabam dharmyam. So, and it is directly perceived. So that is the fourth bone, that it will be a realized knowledge for Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi. Susukham, it is joyfully performed, kartum avyayam, and it can be performed uninterrupted. So this fifth blessing follows by the fourth blessing is there for realized knowledge, which leads to the fifth blessing, that he would be at the position of an acharya of the Puranas. So he would know all the Puranas because he has knowledge of past, present and future. So he becomes an authority. Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi is an authority. And of course, Lord Shiva had already given him this boon that his body will not age beyond 16 years on his 16th birthday. So that was his birthday gift Lord Shiva had previously given to Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi. So he stays healthy and he stays young in the body of a 16-year-old. His body does not age. And it is said that whoever chants and glorifies Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi, the story of Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi, will attain liberation from material life. We will transcend the three modes of material nature, which is based on the accumulated desire generated from fruitive work. So this is a great blessing that we get from this chapter. And Sutta Goswami says that yes, Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi is right now traveling, and he is constantly meditating and engaging in pure devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And with this chapter ends. So my dear devotees, please, if you have an opportunity, go back to this chapter 8, 9 and 10 and read them, and you will be so amazed. Such wonderful pastimes of Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi. And to be able to engage in devotional service and liberate ourselves from the clutches of Maya, the three modes of material energy, there is a very simple process. All we have to do is raise our hands and chant Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Please join us for Harinam. Tantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Mahadev, Lord Shiva ki jai, Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi ki jai, Mother Parvati ki jai. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Gandhra Śrīmad Bhagavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Kore Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.